Okay, we'll get started here. Good morning, everyone. My name is John Von Paris, and I am the chairman of the MDTA Finance Committee. I hereby call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order at 9 a.m. in accordance with the live streaming law. This meeting is being conducted via video conference and is being live streamed on the MDTA Finance Committee webpage. All members will have their video active during the entirety of the meeting. To minimize background noise during the call, I would ask that everyone on the line please mute your phones except when speaking. I ask that those who are presenting or answering a question to please turn your video and audio on when speaking. When you're done, please turn your video off and put your audio on mute. There are no members of the public, no elected officials, no media who have pre-registered to comment at this morning's meeting. At this time, we will begin with agenda item number 1, the approval of the minutes from March 14, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Member Rosen, thank you. Is there a second?
Member Ardinger, I'll second.
Thank you, Member Ardinger. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are hereby approved. We'll move on to agenda item number 2, contract number MT 00210861, generator maintenance, testing, and repairs. And I believe David Sharpless is here to make this presentation. Hi, David. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you.
See you. Good morning. For the record, I'm David Sharpless, MDTA Fleet Administrator. The purpose of this agenda item is to the Finance Committee recommended approval to the full board for contract number MT 00210861, generator maintenance, testing, and repairs at various MDTA locations. This contract will primarily be used to ensure the generators connected to the tolling system are functioning correctly to ensure revenue is not lost when the MDTA experiences a power outage. An invitation for bid was advertised on September 6th and bids were opened on November 29th. 3 bids were received. The low bid and recommended vendor is Veracom MAAC LLC. References were provided as part of the procurement process and verified. The contract is a 4-year contract with 1 2-year renewal option in the amount of $812,790.84. An MBA goal was not set for this contract because the contract has limited scope of work with single element of work and no commercially useful subcontractable work. I'm happy to answer any questions and request the committee's recommended approval to the full MDTA board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Are there any questions from any members?
David, quick question. Did we have an engineer's estimate for this contract?
I have to defer to procurement.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, this is Jeff Davis, Division of Procurement. Typically on a maintenance contract, we do not do an engineer's estimate. What we might do is look at prior contracts as a reference, but this, I believe, is a first of its kind since the original contract was an installation with a maintenance portion. This is a continued maintenance contract.
Thank you.
Okay, Member Ardinger, sorry.
Yes, David, thank you. And I think you may have touched on this in the prior answer. So Veracom is not someone that we've used in the past. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I guess I'm not quite clear. Have we had prior contracts and we used somebody different?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right, but we've decided to make a switch, or their bid just didn't come in where it needed to be, the prior contractor?
Yeah, yes. They were higher.
Okay. Okay, but Veracom, you've checked all the references, so we feel comfortable with using them for the first time.
Yes, and they said they were all positive, the references.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Very good question. Thank you, both Member Rosen, Member Artinger. Okay, if there are not any other questions, is there a motion to advance this item to the full board for further consideration?
So moved, Member Carroll.
Thank you, Member Carroll. Is there a second?
Member Artinger, I'll second.
Thank you, Member Artinger. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, David.
Hey, have a good day.
You too. We will move on to the next item. Item number 3, contract number J01 B360015, Next Generation E-ZPass. We have Heather Coberly here to present. Hi, good morning, Heather.
Good morning, members. I'm Heather Coberly, Director of E-ZPass Operations, and I'm here to request approval to enter into a 5-year intergovernmental cooperative purchasing agreement with CAPS under the IAG Master Contract. This contract is one of 2 that will be for the purchasing of next generation transponders for E-ZPass customers and any ancillary equipment such as transponder readers, testers, and programmers, which are used at our customer service centers. This contract has a value not to exceed $38,114,196. Both this contract and the one I will be presenting next will to ensure we receive better value by having price comparisons and ensure product availability for our customers. If this contract with CAPS and the following contract with TransCore would offer the same product for the same price, we would assess each vendor's turnaround time and product availability, and then order from the vendor that best suits our needs. And additionally, having 2 vendors would help to avoid any supply chain issues. I am requesting recommendation of the Finance Committee to advance this contract to the full board or for approval at this next scheduled meeting.
Okay, and as stated in the memo, this goes back, the negotiations on this goes back to December 21. Is that right?
Or that is when IAG had entered into the contract and with the agreement.
Okay, and the acronym is ICPA, Intergovernmental Purchasing Agreement.
Correct.
With the 38 other entities, I guess E-ZPass, I think it's 38, isn't it?
Yes.
30, yeah, okay. All right, so, all right, are there any questions?
I have one question, Heather. So just going back to where you were referring to having a couple vendors who can service it. So we're comfortable, or we verify that this is a good price and good value for these transponders.
Yes, these are the contract with the IAG, and we're piggybacking on that contract. And we already have the price sheets. We have a price comparison, and these devices that they offer have been tested and are certified as well. So we go with those that work with our system and are the quality product.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Member Rosen. Good question. Okay, if not, is there a motion to advance this item to the full board for further consideration?
So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Member Rosen and Member Carroll. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, board. Thank you, Heather. And you're staying up for one more, right? For TransCore.
Indeed, I am. And I'm here to request approval to enter into another 5-year intergovernmental cooperative purchasing agreement with TransCore under the IAG master contract. This is a companion contract to the CAPS contract and has the same not to exceed value of $38,114,196. This contract would also be utilized to purchase transponders and other equipment to support E-ZPass operations. I'm requesting recommendation of the Finance Committee to advance this contract to the full board for approval at its next scheduled meeting.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? I'm looking around for hands. Member Ardinger. I'm trying to do a
And I'm
better
sorry, I should have
job.
asked this question at the prior.
Trying to do a better job of learning to look for the hands. So it might take me quite a while. I apologize.
No,
So
you're
please
good.
go ahead.
Yeah. Just so I can understand this, so we have these two contracts and they're basically competing with each other to a certain degree, it sounds like. Are we required to purchase a minimum
No.
under these contracts? No, okay. Great, thank you.
Okay. Good question. Is there a motion to advance this item to the full board for further consideration? You're on mute, remember? Sorry.
Having trouble with my mute button. Member Ardinger, I so move.
Okay, thank you, Member Ardinger. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Member Carroll.
Thank you, Member Carroll. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Okay, moving along, we are moving to agenda item number 5. And just for the record, we have gone through all the approval items at this point, except for the very last one, which is, I guess, the adjournment. But all the approval items have been covered. So we'll go to item number 5, and that would be contract number. And this is an update, contract number MA 22570000. And Joe, are you here? There you are.
Yeah, yep. Joe's here. My name is Joe Quattrone. I'm the ETC program manager for the 3G contract. Here to discuss contract number MA 2257 for the toll system and services modification number 3. This modification is being requested in order to support years 3 and 4 of the O&M line items, as well as the BHT Baltimore Harbor Tunnel AET zone conversion, along with the I-95 express toll lane expansions. The total modification costs for this work is $16,130,376.68, which would increase the total contract value to $96,806,477.74. There are 4 zones at the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel that will be a part of this AET conversion, and there are 4 zones or locations for the I-95 express toll lane expansion, requiring the funding for this and the funding for years 3 and 4 of the O&M line items. Since this is an update, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to ask the Finance Committee for approval. So I would just ask if there was any questions on this request.
Well, it's not listed as an approval item. So we would not, unless others on the call, our council or anyone would say that we should be approved. I don't see that as an approval item, so.
Okay.
I'm curious why, so we're saying we're increasing the contract by 16 million or, yeah, by 16 million, but that's not, we don't have to approve that? What, how come we don't have to approve a contract increase if this time?
This is Member Rosen. Good morning, everyone. Donna DeCervo, Director of Procurement. Typically, we bring new contracts over 400,000 to the Finance Committee and ultimately to the board. Modifications are not required for your approval. But given the magnitude of this amount and the importance of this contract, we always bring it for an informational item so that the board is aware of what we're doing.
Okay, but had we already approved the total amount of a contract beyond this, and this is just adding to the cost of a previously approved contract?
Correct. It's previously approved. Board size of that. This will require Board of Public Works approval, which we anticipate taking to BPW next month.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Joe, do you have anything else? Any comments? Joe?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Minutes, Member Artinger?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, I do. I don't want to interrupt you, though, Member Von Paris. Did you want to say something first? And I'll go after.
Well, I think, I think Member Rosen had a good question, and Donna addressed that. And I guess, that was, I guess that's a lot, it's a lot of money, and maybe we haven't seen a lot of these lately. So I don't know. I guess I may have to learn personally, not you, Member Rosen, but I may have to get refreshed on that piece of it, of the modification process.
Yeah, sorry, this is Bruce. We can certainly come back to you with more information, sharing the different policies of delegated authority, so you could look at that again. Happy to review that with the members.
Okay. Well, I just want, for the record, I very much respect the question that Member Rosen asked. It's a very good question, and I'm glad he asked that question. And thank you, Bruce, for your recommendation to go over this a little bit more in the future. Are there any other questions, Member Artinger?
I actually have a two-part question. I guess the first is on the discussion that was just previous to this. So I see that this is our third modification. So those, my memory, those prior modifications, 1 and 2, were they approved by the board at some point?
Donna DeCervo, Director of Procurement. They were approved. They were informational items taken to the board, and they were ultimately approved by the Maryland Board of Public Works.
Okay, thank you. And then on this third modification, I just want to understand what we're getting. So this is because the initial contract didn't cover these areas, the AET zones at the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel. So this is actually an expansion of what we were already receiving under the original contract. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're exceeding the line items for that work. So any time we exceed a line item by more than $50,000, it requires Board of Public Works approval.
Okay, so those two areas, I'm sorry, 95 and the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel were not included in the original contract, or weren't included to this extent?
The dollar amount has exceeded our original estimate for that approved line item.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions regarding this item? Okay, Joe, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And Donna, thanks for your comments. And again, Member Rosen, Member Artinger, thank you for your questions as well. We will move on to the next item, which is another update on the Travel Plaza. And Simon is here. Hi, Simon. How are you? Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, and the members of the rest of the committee. Good morning. For the record, my name is Simon Ajor. I'm the Travel Plaza Administrator for the Chesapeake and Maryland houses at the JFK Memorial Highway. My presentation will review the importance of the travel plazas, the customer experience, revenue highlights from 2023, and the outlook for 2024. The story here is a positive one of capital reinvestments and a greatly improved revenue stream for the Maryland Transportation Authority. On page 2, I've highlighted some of the reasons why we have travel plazas. The plazas provide a safe and welcoming place for our travelers to rest, especially our truckers, and our daily charges to showcase our great state to visitors who hopefully will become repeat guests as we provide warm Maryland hospitality. The MDTA is in the midst of a 35-year public-private partnership with Ares USA. A P3 arrangement is where an asset's value is unlocked and allows an owner like the MDTA to attain a favorable return while working with a concessionaire like Ares USA as an operator. Ares USA expertise is in providing hospitality, food, and beverage services worldwide and is represented in many airports and toll highways, including Florida and also West Virginia. Our expertise is in building toll roads, bridges, and tunnels. With this partnership, the MDTA can focus on our core competencies and deploy resources to support the core mission while receiving revenues that can be used elsewhere in our operations. The concessionaire provides its market expertise, and with its food and beverage relationships, presents a varied mix of restaurants and services that will appeal to a diverse customer base. On page 3, there's more detail about the background of the Travel Plaza redevelopment. The key highlight here is a $56 million direct investment that was made by Ares USA for both travel plazas. Ares USA demolished the existing facilities, built completely new facilities with the stipulation that over the term, it will operate the facilities and turn over the buildings in good working order, and the MDTA receives 10 to 50% of the gross revenue generated and will assume complete ownership of the improvements upon the end of the lease. Moving to page 4, I have a list of all the restaurants or concepts that are located at the travel plazas. On page 5, I have a list of sub-concepts from which we also receive revenue. This includes a mix of services from massage chairs to vending machines. So let's talk about the actual houses. So moving on to page 6, let's pretend we're taking a field trip up north on I-95, and our first stop is going to be at the Maryland House in Aberdeen, Maryland. On page 7, you can see we just celebrated recently a 10-year anniversary of the Maryland House. Slide 8 goes into a little bit more detail about our presentation to the customer, how we demonstrate the significance of our state, especially during the early days of our nation, and what makes us a great state from our historical markers and phrases that represent us. On page 9, I have a slide showcasing the customer experience and merchandising that's going on at the Maryland House. We now have a new general manager at the Maryland House who really has elevated the retail experience for our guests. And I included some photos from Christmas and Easter. It was really impressive to walk into the Maryland House last December and see all the Christmas decorations. Ares invested quite a number of resources to transform the interior to something that made the guests stop and look. I also noticed a number of people were taking selfies in front of the trees. The travel plazas are our retail operation, and we want everyone to return again and again, but we must provide a safe, welcoming environment and have compelling options for this to happen. On pages 10 and 11, you can see more of the visual merchandising that the new general manager has really gotten involved. And sometimes people just like stop and stare, which is, you know, the way that I look at it is the more time they spend the travel plazas means that we have more time to potentially, you know, sell our products there. Moving along, I want to go to slide number 12 as we continue northbound on I-95 and arrive at Cecil County, where the Chesapeake House is located. The Chesapeake House will celebrate its 10th birthday on August the 5th. On slide 13, I have some more photos. Again, at the bottom of the photo, just want to bring your attention to a pond that we have there, which was set up by Aris USA. It's completely fenced in. And now my understanding is it's fully stocked with fish, and we also have 2 turtles that have magically appeared. It's an impressive area when you're at the Travel Plaza at the Chesapeake House, because you can sit there and it's like a little oasis. You're surrounded by I-95, but who would think that we at a Travel Plaza, we've got a pond, we got a fountain, and we have fish out there. So hopefully this will cause our guests to relax, really enjoy the scenery. Moving on to page 14, more photos from the Chesapeake House. There's a photo of Deli & Co. on the left-hand side. One of the successes that we've had at the Travel Plaza has been a wide range of products that appeal to a variety of audiences at various price points. And just as a reminder, Mother's Day is May 12 and Father's Day is June 16. So you may want to keep the Travel Plazas in mind. Page 15, we have a photo of the Maryland Women in Military Service Monument, where we celebrate the contributions that women have made to the military from the American Revolution to today. An interesting note, Dorchester County's Harriet Tubman was the first woman to serve in the Union Army as a spy, nurse, and scout during the Civil War. On the next few pages, I'm going to focus on our revenue. Page 16 is a graph that shows our revenue by each house since the inception of the Travel Plazas, and this is presented by fiscal year. On the far right is fiscal year 2023. Chesapeake House is in the gold color, generate $1.72 million for the MDTA, while the Maryland House is in the beige color, which came at $2.82 million. However, it's important to note that because the Travel Plazas are influenced by traffic patterns, which are seasonal, and also that the bulk of our revenue occurs in June and July, which is the end and the beginning of the fiscal year. A better analysis is to take a look at on a calendar year basis, which I present on page 17. On page 17, we see a 5-year look back in revenue from calendar year 2019 through 2023. You can see that our peak sales occur from May through August, which is the high travel season. Calendar year 23 is the teal colored line, which is above all the other lines, and calendar year 2022 is in purple. And I want to bring your attention to the gap that's in between those 2 lines. So that's additional profit or revenue that we incurred or received prior to last year. So basically, we have gone way past the COVID years. We have really exceeded the expectation or exceeded 2019's performance. And we're hopeful that this continues into a very impressive calendar year 2024. On page 18, I do a little bit of a breakdown of how the revenue came about. The Travel Plaza's total revenue for calendar 2023 was $4.79 million. This compares to $4.27 million the year prior, or an increase of 12%. We believe some of these gains is due to increased bus traffic, especially at the Maryland House. The Maryland House is uniquely situated it is the last full service Travel Plaza as you head south on I-95 to Washington, D.C. And it's the first the first Travel Plaza as you head northbound from Washington, D.C., which last year saw many weekend demonstrations and protests. There also has been an uptick in school and team trips stopping at the Travel Plazas. I also want to note, while MDTA has rest areas in Savage, they are not full Travel Plazas. Revenue earned is live cash that the MDTA can deploy to wherever it sees fit. The houses contributed $2.96 million The Sunoco fuel stations and its associated convenience stores provided $1.83 million. On page 19, I kind of break out the sales even further, the revenue. So we can take a deep dive into 2023 and look at the top 3 sales drivers for each house. Please note that the MDTA collects 10% of all concession sales as revenue. Thus, when we look at the left-hand side, which is the Chesapeake House, we can see that the Sunshine Market generated $3.2 million in sales in 2023, or $320,000 in revenue to the MDTA. While Chesapeake House was relatively flat, the revenue drivers were at the Maryland House, where the Sunshine Market was flat at $4.9 million, but Wendy's jumped from $2.5 million to $4.0 million. That was a lot of Baconator fans coming over to the Maryland House. Again, with a 10% contributions, that means that we earned $400,000 from just the Wendy's house in calendar year 2023. On slide number 20, I'm highlighting some of the significant high monthly sales marks since 2017. In July, we had 3 concepts hitting high marks, with the Wendy's at Maryland House posting $480,000 in sales, of which the MDTA received $48,000. While Heirs USA's contribute to the MDTA from revenue standpoint, it's also very active in our community. On page 21, there are photos from a community event and the America's 9/11 ride. Heirs USA and its guests have contributed to worthy causes such as breast cancer awareness, assistance to Ukraine, and partnering with Habitat for Humanity in Northeast Maryland, local Boys and Girl Scout troops, and other worthy causes. A few other words about the 9/11 ride, which is on the right-hand side, photo from on the right-hand side. So each year, the Maryland House hosts over 400 motorcyclists and another 100 to 200 support and law enforcement personnel on their way to New York. It really is a true team effort where the MDTA police, maintenance, operations staff secure staging areas the night before and ensure all riders arrive safe and leave safe. Last year, Heirs USA provided everyone free baked goods and water, and its fuel operations worked to make sure that everyone was fueled up with no issues. I'm inviting everyone to join us again at the Maryland House on Saturday, August 17, 2024 at 8:30 in the morning. This will be my 4th year, and it really is quite impressive to see how all this goes about. And we've received a lot of compliments on our hospitality, not from just the riders, but also from the foundation staff and also the law enforcement personnel. As I wrap up, I'm going to review some of the enhancements that were made last year on slide number 22. All the concepts were fully staffed and open for business. Heirs USA also increased its operating hours at some of the venues. Some of the reinvestments improvements at the travel plazas included the milling, paving, and restriping of all 8 ramps leading in and out of the travel plazas, as well as some of the parking lots. As far as the restrooms are concerned, 56 sinks, or all sinks, were replaced along with some fixtures in the restrooms. New soda fountains and case goods were installed at both plazas. We have a new fenced-in dog park at the Maryland House. The dog park has rules to which pet parents must abide, and there's an ample supply of dog waste bags and benches for pet parents. Thus, our 4-legged guests will also get a chance to get a little bit of our Maryland hospitality and also get a chance to run around loose in a safe environment. And as I mentioned earlier, the Chesapeake House, we have a new fountain that was installed in which the existing pond is also surrounded by fencing. For 2024, the concessionaire is planning on furniture and fixture repairs and improvements. Moving to the right side of the slide, the Maryland houses, the travel plazas face various challenges as it continues to be a tight labor market, especially in the food and hospitality sectors. There's increased competition with staffing with Great Wolf Lodge that is now fully operational in Northeast Maryland. We also have signage on I-95 that directs travelers to other competing fuel and food venues. There's an increased acceptance of technology to price shop, as savvy investors can use their phones to identify other food options as well as cheaper gas. We also face potential reduction in traffic if gas prices increase, as some travelers may be very budget conscious. The next few pages are reference materials that I provided to the committee and delve into more detail on the various factors that influence what the MDTA receives as revenue. Basically, we receive 10 to 15% of the gross revenue from the concession sales. For the fuel sales, which is on page 26, what we received is based upon a mix of fuel type, the location, house location, and the volume that's sold. This concludes my presentation. I thank the committee for its time and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Simon, thank you. It's very interesting when you take a look at MDTA, although this is a P3 hospitality outsourced program, but we are very diversified in things that we do, from engineering all the way down to what you just presented here today. So we appreciate that. Every once in a while we get this update, and I know you took a lot of time putting this together, and we appreciate your efforts in doing that and sharing it with the committee.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any questions for Simon from any of the members? Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks.
Okay. The last item here, the update is, I guess, from Tanya on the salary compression adjustment and the recent salary actions. Hi, Tanya. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Tanya Dorsey, Director, Office of Human Resources and Workforce Development. Today, I will be providing an update item regarding the MDOT salary compression project. As a part of MDOT's commitment to fair and competitive compensation, there was a study underway to review the salaries of supervisors to find out if there was any salary compression. Salary compression occurs when a supervisor is paid at the same rate or less than their subordinate employee with a direct reporting relationship. In reviewing the employees and the supervisors here at MDTA, it was found that 52 MDTA supervisors needed to have their salaries adjusted. This action took place on March 6th, where the identified compressed supervisors received the adjusted compensation. The adjustment was such that the supervisor would make at least 6% more than their immediate subordinate. The total cost of this particular salary adjustment was just over $500,000. I will note that there have been some ripple up effects after this. So we are in the process now of reviewing to see if these actions for these 52 supervisors resulted in compression for their supervisors. So that is something that we are in the middle of reviewing to see if there are any adjustments that need to be made. Now that the initial project has been kicked off and we've made the adjustments for these supervisors annually, we will be reviewing supervisor subordinate relationship salaries to make adjustments. At this present time, it's a thought that we will be doing this every September. And I would note that at the time of hire, when we hire new supervisors, we do take into account the salaries of their subordinates to try to make sure that we don't have compression in real time. And with that, I'll ask if there are any questions.
Member Carroll?
Tanya, thank you for that, the update. Are there any instances where you could legitimately have that sort of delta in salary between a supervisor and a subordinate based on tenure, responsibility or of the role or position, or is it just that the policy needs to be that supervisor makes more than his or her subordinate?
So historically, yes, there are reasons for it. If we have a new supervisor that comes into state service and you have a tenured employee that is their subordinate, maybe 25, 30 years, they may make more than or close to that new supervisor. So that is one of the areas that we found that there was compression. We also have instances where there may be individuals who share supervision. And so we have developed a working group to kind of look at those scenarios to make sure that we're applying compression appropriately.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Tanya, thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Always good to see you. And that, I believe, is brings us to all of the items. We've covered all the items on the agenda this morning. I just would like to say one thing before we adjourn, and that is that I know we did address this to the board, but we are all remembering those who lost their lives in the Key Bridge collapse. And our thoughts are with all the family members that have been impacted and others that have been impacted by this tragic accident. And I know it's a stressful time for the members of our team. They're working overtime and getting little sleep in many cases. And we're here to support you any way we can. So we thank you for that, and we care about you all. So, so that's all I have. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Member Ardinger also move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Member Rosen.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.